Welcome to e-learning. Dear students, human birth is the best of all. Have you ever thought why you have been given this blessed form of birth? Perhaps God, the Creator, wished that we all must play the expected roles. Yes, dear students, we have certain duties to perform in our lifetime. To make this earth a paradise where all may live in harmony, we all must do good deeds. Good deeds like charity, generosity, love, sacrifice, and benevolence. Remember that the good deeds always pay. The poor and needy are to be always supported. The good work never goes in vain. God always recognizes our generosity. Helping others gives us new perspectives and lead us to attain contentment. Keeping this short moral tip in view, today we will know about the Happy Prince. So let's see what the story has in share for us. The Happy Prince focuses on the importance of charity. Love and sacrifice can endear us to God. But before that, some important information about Oscar Wilde, the writer of this wonderful story. Oscar Wilde was born on October 16, 1854 in Dublin, Ireland. His literary reputation rests largely on his novel and his masterful comedies of manners. He was also known for his wit, his flamboyance, and his trials. He was an Irish poet and playwright. Amongst his notable work is The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1850, and The Importance of Being Honest, 1895. He also worked as a journalist. Known for his biting wit, flamboyant dress, and glittering conversational skill, Wilde became one of the best-known personalities of his day. This great Irish poet and playwright died on 30th November 1900 in Paris, France. Now, let's know about the story. The Happy Prince is a wonderful allegory. It is fully packed with valuable themes like social injustice, redemptive power of love, loss of innocence, and disparity between the poor and the wealthy. Dear children, in this story we come across a statue who once was a real prince. When he was alive, he was a happy person. He lived in a grand palace and was all ignorant about the human sufferings. Actually, the title, The Happy Prince, presents its elements in a symbolic manner, as the story is about a prince who always remained happy. The courtiers called the prince the Happy Prince. In the huge palace where he lived, sorrow was not allowed to enter. He was brought up in all luxuries. His life was full of joys. Upon his death, his statue was built at the top of a column in the city. It was covered all over with thin leaves of fine gold. His eyes contained 2 sparkling sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. The grandeur of the statue was admired by all. Since he was placed high above the city, from that height he was able to witness all sorrows and sufferings that the people of a city faced in their daily life. He could see the ugliness and misery of his city. Though his heart was made of lead, yet he could not choose but weep. The kind-hearted prince was moved to tears by the sufferings, poverty, and misery suffered by the people of the city. One night, there flew over the city a little swallow. He was a migratory bird. His friends had gone to Egypt 6 weeks before. Then he too decided to go to Egypt. All day long he flew, and at night he arrived at the city. Where shall I put up? I hope the town has made preparations. He spoke to himself. Where shall I put up? I just don't find a proper place for myself. On seeing the statue on the tall column, he alighted between its feet. Yes, this is a safe place. I'll put up here. Wow, I have got a golden bedroom. Trying to sleep, he put his head under his wings when a big drop of water fell on him. Oh, what a curious thing. There is not a single cloud in the city. The sky is adorned with twinkling stars, and yet it is raining. Then another drop fell. I must look for a good chimney pot, he decided. But as he opened his wings, the third drop fell. He looked up. Ah, what did he see? The statue was crying. The tears ran down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with immense pity. He went near the statue. Who are you? I am the happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Do you know you have quite drenched me? When the prince told him the reality, the little bird took pity on him and was ready to assist him in his desire to ease the sufferings of the common people. The happy prince told him that he could see so many people starving and suffering. But due to his immobile condition, he could not help them. He urged that the swallow should postpone his flight to Egypt. The swallow agreed. He became the messenger of the prince by removing the fine gold and jewels from his statue to distribute them among the poor and the needy. The happy prince helped the seamstress by sending his ruby so that she could feed her ailing son. Then he requested the swallow to take out a sapphire from his eye and give it to the playwright who was very hungry and feeling weak. Next, he requested the swallow to pluck another sapphire from his another eye and help the match girl who was weeping as she had no money to take home. But the swallow was not ready to do so, because this would make the prince completely blind. The little swallow, being kind-hearted, decided to stay with the prince forever. Here, Oscar Wilde uses symbolism. Friendship is a motive for the story due to the recurring act of the swallow, who not only acts as a true friend but also depicts its sacrificing spirit. Although the prince was not able to see the sorrows or sufferings anymore, he knew it was there. So he instructed the bird to take off the fine gold he was covered with and give it to the poor and needy. Gradually, the prince looked dull and grey. All its charm was lost. The statue was no more beautiful and useful. It stood deserted. The weather had become extremely cold, and after the snow came the frost. The streets appeared silvery. Everybody went about in furs. The little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice joyfully. The poor swallow grew colder and colder. He picked up the crumbs outside the baker's door and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. But he did not leave the prince. Eventually, he grew weak and died from exposure and exhaustion. The last word of this kind swallow were, "Dear prince, I am going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep, is he not?" Saying this, he kissed the lips of the happy prince and fell down dead at his feet. Just at the moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue as if something had broken. It was, in fact, the leaden heart that had snapped right in two at the loss of the sweet and kind swallow. Next morning, the mayor of the city visited that site. The mayor and the town councillors, they are portrayed as cruel and selfish. As they passed the column, the mayor looked up at the statue and said to the town councillors, "Ha! How shabby the happy prince looks. The ruby has fallen down out of his sword, his eyes are gone, and he is golden no longer. In fact, he is little better than a beggar." And he ordered the statue to be pulled down. The town councillors, being sycophant, always agreed with the mayor. They repeated all his comments, and later the statue was instantly pulled down and melted in a furnace at the foundry. But the leaden heart could not be melted. It was thrown in a dust heap where the dead swallow was also lying. Ironically, children, this is a strange world that presents shocking contrasts. Nothing succeeds like success here. As long as one has power, he is respected and obeyed. In this dazzling world of wealth and riches, human feelings have no relevance. The happy prince was a symbol of power, beauty, and grandeur. The moment he lost all the gemstones and his gold leaves, he became very ordinary, ugly, and useless. Now, let's go back to the introduction that said that good deeds always pay and are appreciated. So that's what happened to the dead swallow and the happy prince's lead heart. What happened to them? Let's find out. One day, God asked one of his angels to bring him the two most precious things. The angel brought him the lead heart and the body of the migratory bird. God praised the angel and appreciated his appropriate choice. God said that the little bird will sing forever in his garden of paradise, and the happy prince would praise him in the city of gold. So, students, it was a wonderful story, wasn't it? Now let us explore the theme of the story. Its theme is as unique as the story. It is based on love and sacrifice that are essential in life. The true happiness comes to those who love and know to sacrifice. Sacrifice is the first ladder to true love. Kindness, generosity, benevolence, and sacrifice are precious values. We must inculcate these virtues. These values are the best teachers of life, and they lead to true contentment. Real beauty is skin deep. In the story, the prince was full of inner beauty. He knew the importance of love and sacrifice. And he also knew how these qualities bless others. When the prince lost the gemstones, he was disowned by the selfish, greedy, and materialistic people. The world discarded him. But children, God recognized the real worth and the greatness. God considered them two most precious things in the city. He rewarded them by giving them permanent place in the garden of paradise and the city of gold. Thus the prince and the little swallow set an example by helping the poor and needy. Money alone can never lead to peaceful life. Materialism brings only avarice and sufferings. If we want this earth to be a happy place, then we must learn to give. This is what the story teaches. Isn't it a very valuable lesson? We should learn to give and to give home the poor, the downtrodden, and the needy.